GMGP, good morning, good people. Y'all could have been anywhere in the world, but y'all decided to wake up with us. You're sick. You're sick in the head. There's a lot of fantasy football shows out there, but I promise y'all, they not like us. Brock Bowers, you looked a little quicker than fast. What does that even mean? Redraft, dynasty, best ball, high stakes, we got you covered.
And that's MVS and Justin Watson.
With some of the dopest tools designed to help you cancel out the noise and dominate your leagues.
If there's a white wide receiver named Antoine, sign me up.
Maybe it's cultural. I don't know. In season or off season, rain, sleet, hail, and snow,
comma, semicolon, period, next sentence.
to bring you the most actionable and entertaining content on YouTube. You don't go buy the dip on the Titanic.
Quarterback that you love, D-Bro. One of the best values in fantasy football.
Prop bets with my man JRich.
Is that yes! Let's go!
So wipe the crust out of your eye, get you a cup of coffee. It's time to wake y'all asses up with Ray
And Jay.
in the morning.
My God.
How good is
Dude.
he? How good is he? Get it, GMGP. It is Monday, September 30th, 2024. Y'all decided to wake up with Ray and Jay. We appreciate each and every eye, each and every ear, each and every view, each and every comment. We appreciate you all, family, for being in the building. We got a lot to talk about. Week 4, NFL season damn near in the books. We got Monday Night Football tonight. We had a bunch of crazy-ass games yesterday. College football was a mess on Saturday, and yeah, we got to talk about it. Fantasy football, I'm about to put fire to ass. We are about to talk about it. We got to make decisions. There's no more waiting to week 8, week 9, week 10, week 4 of the season. Who are we in on? Who are we out on? Instant reactions, overreactions, fantasy football, NFL. I'm excited for this show today. We got Greg Oswald in the building. Shout out to you, Greg, GMGP. Hoping JRich brings that sass like last week. My dog Marcus Myers in the building. GMGP to all those undefeated college football teams. Hook 'em horns. Yeah, the Longhorns looking good right now. Terrell Sanford, shout out to you, Terrell. Those Selma Holmes takes last week are looking great, and we got a lot of dope people in the building. Adam, Jordan, Leo, Scott, Hunter, Joe Green, what's going on with y'all? And yes, everybody down there affected by the hurricane. Hey, prayers up. I did not realize, Jay, how big that thing was and how serious of a situation it was down there in Florida. So if you're down there and you're watching the show and you need a little relief this morning, we appreciate you being here. Hopefully all is well and you're doing okay, but our thoughts and prayers are definitely with you. Unfortunate, crazy situation, and I'll actually be in Florida next week. We are taking my son to Disney World for his 5th birthday, so no wake up next week. So you better be here, tapped in, locked in this week. No wake-up show next week. I will be out, but we'll be back the following week, and I shouldn't miss any more time. We got to get the pleasantries out of the way. Make sure you go to the podcast radio feed and check out Destination Dynasty. Scott Connor dropped an episode early this morning talking about what to do with those fantasy football teams that are 0-4, 1-3 right now, and he talked about what he would do with the Rashee Rice injury news, and we will talk about that today. Also, make sure you're tapped into the channel tomorrow. Mitch, John, and Dan, Dynasty Theory. They will be on the YouTube channel, so make sure you check out Dynasty Theory. And immediately following this show, I dropped a video last night. I wanted to do sort of a 2025 class overview. Where are people at? Who's what? Who's moving up? Who's falling? So immediately following Wake Up, tap into the channel. We're talking Jalen Milroe. We're talking Trey Harris. And you know we got to talk about that dog out of Boise State, Ashton Genty. I think that's about it. JRich, how you doing this morning, my friend?
I'm good, man. I'm good. I'm excited for this show. I will keep it more PG than last week. I can promise you that and the people that. But this was a weird week in the NFL. It felt like we were starting and building towards trends, and all those trends derailed heading into week 4. So we'll see what happens in week 5. We're going into bye weeks, and that's why you should listen to Scott's pod, because he talks about navigating the buys and trading spot starts away and the value in doing things like that. But yeah, weird week in the NFL for what we thought was going to happen, but it was good to see the Bengals finally get in the win column.
Yeah, man. I'm not a Bengals fan, but they got it done, and Chase still had 6 targets, which we'll talk about in a little bit, Jay. Not a ton of injury news, but hit us what we got right now, Jay.
Yeah, so the big one, I think, for a lot of people, you don't want to hear it, you don't want to see it, but Anthony Richardson is dealing with a hip pointer right now. All reports are that it is more of a pain management issue than anything else. We saw him go out of the game, we saw him come back in the game, and then he ran again, got hit, and he was ruled out after that. Joe Flacco came in relief and played pretty well. It was great for Josh Downs, at least. He was playing, JRich was playing good to start, but we'll see if he's available and how well he can play, because with a hip pointer, if it is pain management, the rushing upside is probably a little bit more limited, so we'll have to do more with his arm, and that hasn't been so great to start the season. The biggest one, though, is, of course, Rashee Rice. When Patrick Mahomes threw an interception, Rashee Rice stripped the ball, but then ran right into Patrick Mahomes' shoulder. So he is very likely to be out for the year. We are just waiting on the report confirming the MRI that he has a torn ACL, MCL, PCL, whatever the case may be, as far as his knee, but he was carted off and it's not look good. He's probably out for this season. Jonathan Taylor is dealing with a high ankle sprain yet again. I believe this is the second year in a row he's dealt with a high ankle sprain, so we know that he can come back from this. But with how good he's looked so far to start the season, this does suck because he'll be out probably 2 to 4 weeks with this high ankle injury. And the same issue with Christian Watson, another ankle sprain. We don't know the severity of his ankle sprain. We'll have to see. He told Matt LaFleur that it's only a sprain, but we don't know whether it's a high ankle, low ankle, and the severity of that sprain. But those are the main ones. And then as well, on the Rams front, Puka Nacua is expected to miss at least another month. We'll see. He's been out since week 1 with that PCL injury, but it's already been reported he's missed at least another month. So we're heading almost into October, basically going past the trade deadline into week 8, I believe, for when we could expect Puka Nacua potentially back. And then Christian McCaffrey got his PRP-like injection in Germany, and he's supposed to be back for November. So we have to see where he's at. He's supposed to be practicing on grass as of this week, potentially, and could be back for the start of November, I believe, after the 49ers bye in week 9. So that would be pretty good. I think if you get Christian McCaffrey back for week 9, that'd be great. But Ray, any other thoughts on some of these players and some of these injuries?
No, it was just very fitting and unfortunate that Anthony Richardson started the game off 3 for 4, 71 yards. Things look well, and then boom, injured. It's unfortunate. We'll talk about that. Puka Nacua, out of sight, out of mind. Are you even really? You got hurt so early in the season. It's like you've already forgotten that you wasted a first-round pick drafting him. So it is what it is. And Christian Watson, this is the story. This is the story. This has been the story with him his entire career. When he's on the field, when he's healthy, when he's playing, he's productive, he's a fun player, but it's always something with him. And the stuff with Christian McCaffrey, we'll see. There are so many conflicting reports. I know a lot of, at least fantasy football doctors, injury specialists, say they don't even trust the damn San Francisco 49ers coaching staff, training staff, what they're reporting medically. We'll see. I'll say this. Jordan Mason has looked really good. He's not Christian McCaffrey. He can't do the same things that Christian McCaffrey can do, but turn around, hand him the rock. He's been pretty good in relief of CMC. But you really, I don't even want to play around, Jay. Let's get right to it. I think the big news and the stuff that a lot of people are concerned about, not just from this single player, but for this team, for the offense, and more importantly, the quarterback, JRich. You hit on it. Rashee Rice, it's looking like he is going down for the season. This is not good. This is not good for the Chiefs. It's not good for us in fantasy. He was a top 3 usage wide receiver in the NFL, and the fantasy production was following his performance on the field. Patrick Mahomes is now down Rashee Rice. He is down Isaiah Pacheco. Carson Steele fumbling the ball all over the place, looking like his job might be in jeopardy. Kareem Hunt's back. What are we feeling about these Kansas City Chiefs offensively? They're 4-0, but no Rashee Rice, Jay. It's tough. If you're a Kelsey, if you're a Mahomes manager, this is tough sledding right here, Jay.
Yeah, you talk about the injury. Rashee Rice at times in the season has been this entire offense, right? Kelsey had a pretty good week this week, 7 for 89 on 9 targets. But even with that, he hasn't been as dynamic. He hasn't been doing as much down the field. So when they really need a play on 3rd and 5, okay, he can maybe make that play. But when it's 3rd and 13, 3rd and 15, or, 3rd and long at least, Rashee Rice has been the guy to really make that play, move the offense, get it down the field in ways that Xavier Worthy and whoever else is filling in at wide receiver aren't able to do consistently. So for a team that's already sputtering to some extent offensively, Patrick Mahomes has struggled already this season. Now he's going to have to do the rest of the year very likely without one, Hollywood Brown, who's already been ruled out for the year, and we were expecting something from him, and now Rashee Rice as well. It's very concerning, but I think from a fantasy aspect, we have to imagine there's some consolidation of targets, and it's going to be the Kelsey show going forward.
It has to be. And Kelsey was finally productive this week. 7 receptions, 89 yards on 9 targets, led the team in targets. Noah Gray, Jay, also played 4 for 40 for Noah Gray. He was involved as well. Kareem Hunt, 14 for 69. And Mahomes, Mitch and John talked about this on the show. It was a big thumbnail, and I know a lot of people were like, you guys are crazy. But is it time to sell Patrick Mahomes? He has not been the same fantasy producer that he was when he had Tyreek Hill, when he had Travis Kelce, when he was 30 years old, 29 years old. And now you're telling me he's down his best offensive weapon? How do you feel about Patrick Mahomes moving forward, JRich? And this is not an indictment on him, the NFL player, and what he can do for the Kansas City Chiefs NFL outlook. But for fantasy football, when we need big-time scorers, you're getting players like Andy Dalton outscoring him. You can just find these replaceable level quarterbacks. What's the play with Patrick Mahomes today?
I think the problem is that, you see the way he played for the first 3 weeks. There was already a lot of steam from the community. Maybe it's time to sell Mahomes. And then he has another dud week and loses his top receiver. So the question, Ray, isn't so much what do you do? I think the obvious answer is you want to try to move off of him. But the question now is it smart to do it? And what can you get? Because are you looking at outside the top 10 at quarterback now as a tear down? You're not getting Jayden Daniels. You're probably not even getting Jalen Hurts, who was awful again this week. Maybe you could get, I don't know, Caleb Williams. And that doesn't look very smart right now. Maybe you can get Kyler Murray. But even if you're the Kyler Murray owner, are you trading your Kyler Murray for Patrick Mahomes? Maybe not, because the outlook for him looks really bad right now. Before it was, well, they're trying to gel as an offense. They're going to figure it out. They're the Chiefs. But it seems very obvious now. He's not playing very well. The offense is struggling, and they just lost their best player that was really keeping Mahomes afloat in terms of his fantasy value. So now I think the problem is that what do you sell him for? Do you sell him for picks? Do you sell him for another quarterback? Because he's not even producing like a quarterback that you want to start weekly. So maybe you can afford to trade him away just for picks if you have some depth. But outside of that, I'm not sure what type of trade that you would make for Patrick Mahomes right now. Do you have any thoughts on that?
The chat's talking Devontae Adams to Kansas City. They need to go trade for a wide. You just don't see that happen in the NFL. NBA, you see it. Karl Anthony Towns traded. You see all-stars moved in the NBA. Major League Baseball, you see it. You don't see it a lot in the NFL, and I think that's by design, and that's a different conversation for a different day with ownership, contract control. You just don't see that a lot.
Yeah.
The Raiders need to do something. They need to do something because they were just fine without Devontae Adams this past Sunday. Rashee Rice, really quickly to tie a bow on this, and I'm sure there will be a lot of people that discuss this, not just this week, but the weeks following. Immediate reactions on what your play is, what you do with Rashee Rice in Dynasty, Jay. Are you on the side that you want to go out and pay a first-round pick plus for him right now? Are you willing to get off of him? His career's over. He's done. He's never going to recover. That's part of the narrative out there as well. Sell him. He's dead. Yeah. He tore his ACL. He'll never play football again. It's all over for Rashee Rice. We'll hear that narrative pushed as well. But what the reality is he's probably not going to score you any points this year. So, how valuable is he long-term on your roster versus the points that you can try to get? What would you personally be doing with him in Dynasty if you lost him to a torn ACL this past Sunday?
That's really tough because part of me does say, you should try to buy him. You really should. And, I obviously lean on you a lot when it comes to the 2025 stuff, but with the running back class, the way it looks, and the quarterback class being kind of questionable potentially, there could be an opportunity where buying Rashee Rice for a first makes enough sense. But to your point, and Scott makes it all the time, is that he's just not going to gain any value. Now, the timeline is solid. You're looking at 11 months out basically to return to play, which is a good timeline for a player coming off an ACL. But if he doesn't perform well right out the gate, what's the point of buying him? Right? Because there's going to be more buy windows. So I think that, the immediate reactions makes me want to think maybe you try and buy him for 2 seconds. But if you can't get him for that price, I don't see how it makes sense. And if you're selling him, you just pray you can get a first for someone who wants to still buy him for that first round price. But I don't know where the Chiefs go from here. And I don't know if it makes sense.
Jay, magic freaking beans. I saw T. Higgins, Hunter Renfrow, Devontae Adams. Who else are the Chiefs trading for? Y'all got to stop this. Ain't no T. Higgins getting traded to Kansas City. Stop.
I saw Christian Kirk. I liked that a lot.
Christian Kirk getting traded. All these teams are going to give Patrick Mahomes a weapon. They're not doing that.
If you're the Jaguars, you don't care.
Hunter
right?
Renfro's you don't just walk. This is not Madden. You don't just bring Hunter Renfro to the Kansas City Chiefs and he just starts playing. And what kind of damn market-moving needle maker is he? Zero. There's no need to even bring Hunter Renfro in. Y'all got to stop it. Y'all on that damn hopium heroin too early in the morning on Monday. They're not bringing Chase, Mike Evans. Let's get Mike Evans to Kansas City. Y'all got to stop it. They're not doing anything. That's who they're going to get, or they're going to make some marginal trade for a receiver. It's going to be the Mahomes show. Mahomes, Xavier Worthy, Travis Kelce, Kareem Hunt, Samaje Perine. That's what's happening in Kansas City. Y'all got to I got to call everybody out right now. Y'all know I love y'all, but y'all got to stop that. Stop it. JRich, Sunday night football. He was back. You have disparaged this man all season long, and the king went off. Derrick Henry, 199 yards, over 200 total yards, but he had 3 touchdowns last night. Derrick Henry, absolute monster. King Henry is back. Talk about him, Jay.
The king is back, Ray. Almost 10 yards a carry, 24, 199, and the touchdown on the ground with the receiving touchdown as well. What is there to say? The king is back. I think that's all that needs to be said. The Buffalo Bills defense couldn't stop him going left, couldn't stop him going right, couldn't stop him up the middle, couldn't stop him through the air. Lamar Jackson played a great game. It was relatively clean. He didn't have to do a lot. It was very reminiscent of the Dallas game when they ran the hell out of the ball, only threw it 19 times, or I guess 18 times with Lamar, once with Josh Johnson. And it was a great performance once again from the Ravens. They know what their identity is. They need to run the heck out of the ball. And I said it last week. Somewhere Greg Roman is smiling because all he sees is this Ravens team understand that their identity is to run the football. With Lamar Jackson, this game, it was a hell of a lot of Derrick Henry, and they throw the ball when they need to. And unfortunately for us in fantasy, all of those targets go to Justice Hill because they don't want to throw the ball beyond the line of scrimmage. They don't want to throw the ball 5 yards down the field. Lamar just checks it down to Justice Hill. He's great in the receiving game. He scored a touchdown. I believe both those backs were top 12 running backs this week or something like that. It was insane how good they were.
They were both. Both of them were great. This is the identity of Baltimore. This is what they need to do. Run the ball, run the ball, run the ball. Lamar Jackson was efficient. No, for fantasy football, this does not feel great. You want to see the 200, 300-yard performances. 156, 2 touchdowns. He had 54 and another touchdown on the ground. I am just fine with that. I will take it. 72% completion percentage. Derrick Henry, he's a Hall of Famer. It is beyond me how he's continuing to do this at 30 years old. He's pulling away from defensive backs. He almost reached max speed of Xavier Worthy, according to Next Gen Stats, miles per hour tracking. Oh, really? On that 87-yard run, he was moving just as fast as Worthy, who ran the fastest time at the Combine. Game speed versus underwear Olympics, totally different things. It's good to see Derrick Henry. I think he's first in the league in everything rushing-wise. Yards per attempt, total rushing yards, missed tackles forced. He is just dominating right now. And this identity of Baltimore, this is what they need to do week in and week out. Justice Hill, don't play. I would love to flex him if I have him. And I'm very concerned. 9 routes from Mark Andrews to Isaiah Likely's 12. Now, Andrews did smoke a pass. He had one right in his hands. Probably would have picked up 20, 30 yards on the play. Dropped it right in the middle of the game. Where are you at with Mark Andrews? What are we doing with Mark Andrews right now?
I think kind of like we talked about in the ranking show for everyone who watched it, it's you can't really start either of these guys right now. And if you do, just understand how desperate you are. Because right now, the way these Ravens are playing, they're playing like back when Lamar was a rookie. And you didn't really want to start any of the receivers, even the tight ends, because the plan was just to run the football. And we talk about this a lot when you talk about running schemes. And this is very similar, Ray. I'd compare them basically to the Los Angeles Chargers. They have better playmakers than the Chargers, but their goal and the way they want to win is identical. They want to run the ball, pass when they have to on third down, be efficient at the quarterback position, and win very slim margins. You know, the Ravens obviously won huge in this game because their defense was great and they put up a ton of points and Derrick Henry was awesome. But I think you look at the Chargers offense and you don't want any of their players outside the running backs. I think you can make the exact same case for the Baltimore Ravens, except Lamar Jackson is actually usable for fantasy.
Yeah, and look at the distribution. Just look at what happened. Let's just 6 targets to a running back, Justice Hill, 2 targets to Isaiah Likely, 3 to Nelson Aguilar, 2 to Zay Flowers, and 1 to Rashad Bateman. They don't have pass-catching weapons outside of a wide receiver who's the same size as me. I'm bigger than Zay Flowers. That's who their number one option is. And Zay Flowers is a very good player. He's being utilized in the offense, not this game, but he's a very good player. But there's a big difference between having a guy like Zay Flowers and when C.J. Stroud needs to throw it to somebody. He's got 6'4" Nico Collins that can do the same stuff as Zay as far as getting open, creating space, and he's just a much bigger target to where you've got more margin for error if you just get it in the vicinity. So this is probably going to be the recipe for Baltimore moving forward. Sure, there will be games where Zay Flower has his blow-up performance, 8 for 82 and 2. He'll have his moments, but by and large, I am looking at that matchup, and I am going to see, is this an exploitable one for Baltimore on the ground? And if so, Jay, I'm not starting Mark Andrews or Isaiah Likely. It is a big 0 for me. I will find other tight end options. I can't do it. Cannot do it.
Yeah, like, so more context about this with Zay, right? Because I want to just bring this up because I was just looking at it really quickly. You look at the first 2 games, they threw the ball a lot. They lost both of those games. Then they decided to run the ball. And so these are Zay Flowers' targets from week 1 to week 4. 10, 11, 4, and 2. It's very clear that they changed how they want to play and how they want to run their offense after that week 2 loss to the Raiders. And they understand that they can't go out here and try and throw the ball a ton. And so while he may have that blow-up game, like that blow-up game may only come on like 6 or 7 targets. I think even looking to double digits or 8, 9, they'd have to really be out of it to kind of tailor that performance, because it seems like, you know, you played the Chiefs, obviously good team. The Raiders are awful. I don't know how the hell they lost to the Raiders. But then you look at Dallas and Buffalo. This is a tough schedule, but they win in the games by running the ball. And I think it's only going to continue going forward.
I agree with you. I agree 100%. So if you've got Mark Andrews and you're trying to make that decision week in and week out, I would try to find another option. Jay, he's the best rookie I've ever seen in my life. I am excited. He's the best rookie I've ever seen. Jayden Daniels and what he's doing right now. He's not the best rookie I've ever seen, but I'm very impressed by this young signal caller from the Commanders, and I was very high on Jayden Daniels the entire draft process, Jay. I don't know if there was anybody who liked JD5 more than I did as early as I did. And going into the draft, landing on this team, what Dan Quinn did in the offseason, bringing over a player like Tyler Biadasz to man that center position, them finally getting Terry McLaurin involved in the offense. Jayden Daniels arrived, and Jayden Daniels is a superstar. Absolutely shredded the Arizona Cardinals. Completion percentage on historic levels right now when you look at quarterbacks through the first 4 starts in NFL history. Jayden Daniels is doing it with efficiency. He is being smart on the ground, using his legs, 8 for 47 and a touchdown. Did throw his first career interception. But man, Jay, talk about this young man. And I see people, D-Bro had JD5 as QB1. Man, I've been talking about Jayden Daniels for a long time, Jay. How you feeling about him right now in Dynasty, Fantasy, this season, next season? Talk about Jayden Daniels.
I think that we may get to a point, Ray, where he is borderline QB1. Like, he probably won't quite get to QB1, but he's going to push for QB1 if he keeps playing the way he's playing. Because it's not just the running game, right? You talk about the way that he plays, even in the passing game. I rewatched that game this morning just because I was watching Red Zone at the time. And it's just ridiculous. Like, this guy doesn't miss a pass less than 10 yards. If it's less than 10 yards, it's on the money every single time. The receiver is always there. I think he only missed 1 to Noah Brown on a crossing route. But all the other incompletions, down the field. The interception, 20 yards down the field. A deep shot down the field. Like, everything's short. The receivers are catching the ball. It's on time, on target, under control. And I think Sean Payton put it best when he was talking about Bo Nix. Jayden Daniels is a tough sack. And when you have a quarterback that is always getting you positive yards on the ground, through the running game, or simply just making the right play. They are always ahead of the sticks. And when you talk about a team that hardly punts right now, it's because Jayden Daniels, when the pocket collapses, he gets you 3 to 4 yards. Brian Robinson is also running the hell out of the ball right now. And I think people need to understand just how well he's really playing. Like, even the O-line as a whole, to be honest, with how good Jeremy McNichols was in this game as well. When you have an O-line playing this well and a quarterback that is just on fire, it's very difficult to beat. And I'm curious what this ceiling is for this team. Because if he plays like this all year, Ray, how many wins do you think they'll have? Because I didn't think they'd go into the Cardinals building and kick their ass the way that they did. But this team is playing on another level, and the defense gets better every single week under Dan Quinn.
What did I say this summer about the NFC East and my Dallas Cowboys? What did I say this summer about my Dallas Cowboys in the NFC East? That I wouldn't be shocked if they finished dead last in the division. I said that. I said I wouldn't be shocked if Philly and Washington were better than Dallas. They're 3-1. Jayden Daniels looks very good. Brian Robinson is running the hell out of the ball, like you said, and Cliff Kingsbury in his revenge game. Kyler Murray looked like the one that needed Cliff, not the other way around. Daniels is a superstar. This is it. Sometimes, Jay, sometimes football is not, it's not complicated. It's not difficult. It's not hard. It's a very simple game. And I think for me, the big learning lesson that I'm taking away from this early start of the NFL season, and as I'm watching college football right now, Jay, if there's going to be a dual threat quarterback that we're excited about, that we're talking about being a first-round pick in fantasy drafts, they need to not only be dynamic with their legs, but they also need to be very good with their arm. Like Jayden Daniels is a different level of dual threat quarterback, because a lot of times you see these guys that are extremely gifted with their legs be lacking in the arm talent category. Cam Newton was a great combination of both, but there came a point where he wasn't as good just standing back there and trying to throw. You wanted Cam Newton to run around, use his legs. JD5 has elite level accuracy to where he can just stand there and deal. And then if you press him, if he's faced with pressure, if he's blitzed, you can pay, because he's an elite level 4-4 type speed runner, and he will shred you with his legs. So having a quarterback with that type of dual threat skill set, a true dual threat, arm and leg, it's a combination that we haven't seen. And this is, if he's good, if he continues to progress, if he continues to do these things, he will be thought of in that Lamar Jackson plus territory. Not double MVP, but that type of fantasy producer for us in this game that we play. He will be viewed in that light, in that level, when Lamar was doing that early on in his career, and a lot of it with his legs. But Daniels has a chance to be really special throwing the ball and rushing.
Yeah, it's funny because Garrison put this in the chat. JD5 is what we hoped AR-15 would be. And this is where we brought it up, I think it was on the Wednesday show, that like truly experience does matter. And when you look at Jayden Daniels, when he faces pressure, when they're blitzing him, he's never under control. Like, he's never out of control. He never lacks the understanding of where to go with the ball when he's blitzed. The option's always there. He understands where to put the ball. And that all comes from his, like, it was like 90 starts, 15,000 passing yards, almost 200 touchdowns, or whatever the number was. It's like all of this stuff matters. All of the blitzes he's seen, all the different combinations, SEC, Pac-12, like, it all matters. And I think even when you compare him to Lamar Jackson, I believe, he started for 2 seasons at Louisville, or maybe it was 3 seasons. Even JD5 has extra experience on him, so he comes into the NFL with even more experience. And it's just phenomenal to see what this kid's done so far. It truly is. And even when you compare him to Caleb Williams, it's like, man, Caleb Williams might need 2 years to get to where Jayden Daniels is right now, because that's how good Jayden Daniels looks. And hopefully he can keep it up, because honestly, right now, Ray, I would easily argue that he's playing better than Lamar Jackson.
I think we're having different conversations. Like, the chat, this is not what we hoped Anthony Richardson to be. Like, yes, we did. But there is a big difference between those two quarterbacks. JRich started, 10 college games? You're talking about a player who since high school has started, 15, 16 games. So we continue to talk about this with Richardson. Even with his hip winter injury, I am still not out. I am not. I am still very much in. There's a big difference between having those starts and that experience and then the talent and the skill set. They're two totally different players. The only thing that's similar between Anthony Richardson and Jayden Daniels is they're both African-American and they both wear number 5. Other than that, they're totally different players. That's it. They're two different players, how they run, why they run, what they can do from a pocket. This is what we would want Anthony Richardson to be in a dream. In faraway never land. That is what we would want him to be. Jayden Daniels is an absolute superstar, Jay. Sam Darnold, you got the Vikings jersey on right now.
Let's go,
Sam
Vikes.
Freaking Darnold. With Josh Allen getting spanked on Sunday Night Football. Who is the, I don't know. I haven't looked up odds. I haven't looked up anything. Would you say that he should be the front runner for NFL MVP with the 4-0 Minnesota Vikings? Who else? Give me who else right now should be the front runner. You go look it up on DK. NFL MVP after 4 weeks. Who would it be?
I mean, I don't think it's Sam Darnold, but so I did pull up the odds, right? It's Mahomes, it's Allen, it's Lamar, it's Stroud, then it's Darnold.
Okay. So Darnold's fifth? Darnold's fifth?
13-1 for Sam Darnold
that.
is wild.
I'll take that.
Wild.
That's wild.
Top 5. He's ahead of Brock Purdy. He's obviously ahead of Joe Burrow, but Jayden Daniels, 25-1. Honestly, Ray, you can make the case that Jayden Daniels is kind of playing like the MVP right now. Because there's not a lot of quarterbacks playing as well as him. I believe he's 4th in the NFL in QBR. He's top 10 in passing yards. It's hard because you almost want to say Mahomes because you see the adversity that Mahomes deals with every single week and say, how the hell does he keep winning? But at the same time, man, I think for me, it's still Josh Allen. He did get spanked by those Ravens. But when he's on, he is probably the best quarterback in football. But Sam Darnold and the Vikings, I mean, Ray, they almost blew this game, though. Let's be honest.
They did almost
Sam
blow
had a great couple of quarters. It was 28-0.
I don't want to hear there's a lot of almost weekly. There's a lot of almost every single week. So we're not going to almost hold against Sam Darnold. They got the job done. They're 4-0. He was 20 for 28, 275, 3 touchdowns, 70% completion percentage. Got the ball to Justin Jefferson, got the ball to Jordan Addison. Aaron Jones had a day himself. We're not going to, he almost lost, so let's try. How is he playing right now? He's playing outstanding. And I think this is a testament to Kevin O'Connell, his coaching staff, his coaching style, what he's done to surround him, to be comfortable in what he does well. Coach of the year right now is no doubt Kevin O'Connell, in my opinion. Sam Darnold, I'm glad he's in the conversation. I don't want to say he's the NFL MVP, but damn, he's playing good and earning himself some money down the line. And my question to you is, if the Vikings continue to win, if the Vikings make a postseason run, and if Sam Darnold continues this level of play, what happens in 2025?
This is the toughest question ever.
What happens in 2025?
If I am the Minnesota Vikings, I think that you still turn to JJ McCarthy. But it's not because I don't want Sam Darnold. I think you just say to Sam Darnold, look, we need to pay a lot of players to be a good team, and we can't afford to pay you what you're worth and still be that good team. They already drafted JJ McCarthy to be the future of the Vikings. They have him on the rookie contract. They're building their contracts around that rookie deal, clearly, because that's how you get a Justin Jefferson for $150 million. But I don't know, Ray. I don't think it'd be an easy decision, but to the point of Sam Darnold, the dude would get paid. We saw Baker Mayfield get paid. If he does what Baker Mayfield did, he's getting $100 million. He's getting $150 million. I think he would have earned it at that point, but I don't think the Vikings can afford to give him that contract and then have JJ McCarthy, sitting for 2 years at least. But yeah, Kevin O'Connell, definitely the front runner. I can't believe Matt LaFleur is at 25-1. That's absolutely outrageous. But KOC is getting it done, and credit to Jordan Love and those boys, and especially Dontavian Wicks, who wasn't the best, but he did score 2 touchdowns. That was a very, very close game in the end, and neither of us expected Jordan Love to look that good coming off the
No,
MCL
he looked
sprain.
good. The Jordan Love roller coaster is what it is. He is a perfect Packers quarterback, in my opinion, because the highs are extremely high and the lows are just like, what are you doing, Jordan Love? That's the Jordan Love experience. I see a couple of different comments in the chat about the JJ McCarthy, Sam Darnold conundrum, I guess. And we are 12 weeks early, so there's a lot of time for Sam Darnold to turn back into a pumpkin.
To blow
so
it,
we don't want to go out over our skis. But Daniel Perry said, if Sam Darnold plays like this all year, you go into the draft and you pick for need, let JJ sit another year and go compete. I think that's a sound take. But again, Darnold's on a 1-year deal, so you would have to bring him back, right? You'd have to pay him. They don't have the money. I think you still turn this thing over to J.J. McCarthy. I think what Sam Darnold is doing, good for him. He will get an opportunity to start somewhere else, be a bridge quarterback. Great for him. But I also am not going to sit here and inject myself with this hopium saying that as soon as J.J. McCarthy comes in, he looks exactly like Sam Darnold. That's foolish as well. So if you're in the chat thinking just because Sam Darnold's doing this, you put J.J. McCarthy in week 1, he's going to automatically do this. Stop. That's not football. No, it's probably not going to happen. He's got to get starts, and he's got experience. So I'm excited about his progression, but I'm not going to put that level of expectation on McCarthy out the gate. It's not fair to him. And then what it will in turn do is make people in Dynasty prematurely panic for no reason. Oh, my God, he's not Sam Darnold 2 weeks out the gate. Now he stinks. No, he's still a rookie quarterback in an NFL grown man's game. And there will be an adjustment process no matter how many analysts tell you he's going to come out the gate and just be QB1 from week 1 to week 17. Give him some time, but I love what we're seeing with McCarthy, with Sam Darnold and Kevin O'Connell in this offense. Addison is back. Feeling good about Jordan Addison. 4 targets, 3 receptions, 72-1.
Yeah, it's just the efficiency of the offense. I think it's the scary and great part about the Minnesota Vikings is that they don't have a lot of volume. They obviously ran the ball very effectively as well with Aaron Jones in that revenge game, but they keep scoring. Jefferson every week, touchdown. He didn't get a lot of targets, only 8, 6 for 85, but he scored yet again. Addison scored 2 touchdowns in this game, so he was great for fantasy football. I think that's all we really care about. Consolidated offense, we got the target. Sam Darnold was efficient. And the Vikings got the dub, right? And then so I think that's all you can expect from this team. You just have to hope they continue to be efficient and Sam Darnold can continue to throw touchdowns to his top targets.
I said I wasn't concerned. I said I was not concerned at all, Jay. But trust that Trinity, we'll be all right. Everything is going to be okay. We're going to talk about Brandon Aiyuk after the break. Let's go. Appreciate everybody being in the building and tapping in for the Wake Up with Ray and Jay show this Monday, September 30th. If you weren't here at the beginning, a lot of content dropping on the channel immediately following this show. 2025 rookie class talk, RBs, wide receivers, and a lot of QB talk. So make sure you pull up, check that out, subscribe to the channel, like it, comment. Let me know what you think about those players. And as we sat back and we watched the NFL this past weekend, Jay, we saw all the dope hats the players were wearing. And yes, New Era Hats is the official partner of this show and the NFL, JRich. Oh, I got to put the New Era Hats thing back up. Why did you take it off, Jay? Let's redo that. New Era Hats, the official partner of the Wake Up with Ray and Jay show, as well as the official caps of the NFL. And y'all got to get some of this gear. I know some of your teams may have let you down, and some of y'all teams are still making it happen, but you got to rock these caps in style. We got fitteds. We got snapbacks. Premium designs from New Era offer you the comfort to let you showcase your team's pride in style. Elevate your game day look now with the official cap of the NFL. Sidelines from New Era caps. And our hats are also made by New Era, Jay. So it's New Era love all the way around over here at DD. But yes, we got to talk about that man. Brandon Aiyuk. Yeah, I told you, trust it. Not a big deal. He's going to be okay. Juwan Jennings, 6 targets. Deebo Samuel, 5 targets. Brandon Aiyuk, 5 targets. George Kittle, 4 targets on the weekend. Brandon Aiyuk went 2 for 48. Deebo Samuel, 3 for 58. And then Juwan Jennings, 3 for 88 with that long play towards the end of the game. Brock Purdy went 288. But let's talk about Brandon Aiyuk. Where are we at?
It's not good, Ray. I'll be honest, man. You could chalk it up to Christian Gonzalez. Christian Gonzalez has done a great job against top receivers all year long, and have to imagine that he was on Brandon Aiyuk. I mean, I did see him on Brandon Aiyuk a lot. He only went 2 for 5. The volume, once again, it's the Niners offense, man. If you don't get a touchdown in this offense, you're probably not performing for fantasy, especially with where these players are all drafted. It's great for Brock Purdy, and it's bad for just about everybody else. They didn't need any of the receivers in this game. They all played, which is even more of a problem. Jordan Mason, 24, 123, and a touchdown.
Yeah.
But if you have Brandon Aiyuk, I mean, how are you not selling at this point? Like, I don't see a world where this guy is a top 20 wide receiver, because he's got to be hyper efficient. Last year was 19 yards a reception, and I believe he only scored like 6 or 7 times. This year, that's not happening. That's not going to happen with Brandon Aiyuk. So at this point, maybe he's top 24. But if I was betting on any of the Niners receivers to be top 24, it would be Deebo Samuel, because he gets more usage in different ways in this offense. And Juwan Jennings looks like he's replaced Brandon Aiyuk in the offense at this point.
We talked about on the last usage video that Juwan Jennings was not going to go away. I did not believe that with Deebo back and Kittle back that he would lead the team again in targets or yards opportunity. And he led the team again in targets, yards, and opportunity. We're 4 weeks in. I mean, this is a real bet. Now we do a lot of this theoretical talk, and we would do this, and it'd be nice if JJ McCarthy or CeeDee Lamb or that. Now we're here. You've got Jennings, you've got Deebo, you have Aiyuk, and you have Kittle on the field with Brock Purdy and no Christian McCaffrey. Like, what's the bet you make moving forward? What is the offensive bet we are making inside of this 49ers offense moving forward? Let's just start with the obvious. Brock Purdy, Jordan Mason, you're starting those guys every single week. If you have them, you're and give or take, if you got a couple of quarterbacks, single QB league, who knows? You might stream QB. But you're starting Jordan Mason every week. George Kittle's healthy, you're starting him. You're firing him every week. Doesn't matter. You're starting George Kittle. The wide receivers, Aiyuk, Samuel, and Jennings, I do not think it would behoove you to start all three. Where are you going with those pass catchers in the pecking order of the wide receivers? Call your shot right now. What's this look like for the rest of the season?
I would say it's Deebo, Jennings, and then Aiyuk in terms of fantasy production, in terms of valuable targets, in terms of even potentially end zone as well. Like, there's
and Pearsall's not even here. In Ricky going to come back?
Yeah.
I'm not saying that he's going to be the one, but if he's out there being a thorn, a gnat, pulling 2-3 targets away from everybody, it's just another body to lower the ceiling of everybody else.
Potentially. I don't think we've seen that enough from the Niners offense where we consider that possibility. Jennings is really that guy, right? Jennings is the guy that when he catches the touchdown and when he's the guy running the over-the-middle routes and getting the ball from Brock Purdy, that he takes away from Aiyuk, from Kittle, from Samuel. But now Jennings is good. Like, Jennings has grown into this role. He's very experienced in the offense. He understands what he needs to do and where he needs to be. And most importantly, Brock Purdy trusts him. All offseason, working on the chemistry, working on the timing. It's all there. It's not there with Brandon Aiyuk. He's clearly, whether it's not playing well, not engaged, whatever the case may be, he's just not all the way there. And it's weird because we've seen this with Brandon Aiyuk multiple times now. It was, I believe, his second season in the NFL. He's in the doghouse with Kyle Shanahan, and he's not playing. We're wondering what the heck's going on. And now it's like he's getting opportunities, but he's clearly fallen a bit out of favor in the offense. But I don't know why that would change when you have such talented players on this team. And
here it is. I just want to pull it up. The Trinity tool on ddfantasyfootball.com, the best usage tracker in fantasy football. Juwan Jennings, 7.74, 18 points per game. Next up in usage, Deebo Samuel, 7.07. Next up, George Kittle, 5.96, which is great. All those 3 players. You see they're above that line. Jay, they're above the line of threshold where you need to be based on that. Look at Brandon Aiyuk. He's below it. the fourth most utilized player, skill position player, outside pass catcher on the 49ers. He is, you don't have to guess. You don't have to think about what it's going to happen. This right here tells you who's being used. And I agree with you. It's not good for Brandon Aiyuk. I believe the pecking order right now moving forward, if I had to make that bet, it would be Debo, Jennings, and then Aiyuk would be the third receiver that I would prioritize from this offense moving forward, just based off of what we've seen the first 4 weeks of the season.
All right, do you have anything on the other side of the ball? Patriots 13 points, Jacoby Brissett, Ramondre fumbling, nothing?
No. We've got 12 minutes left, and I want to talk about some real players. So let's move on and talk about Nico Collins and the Houston Texans. Jay, again, this is the dude. You had to trust it. You had to be there. Nico Collins, how good is he? Top what? Top what? Do not give me no damn Garrett Wilson over Nico Collins. I'm not trying to hear it. I don't want to hear it. Don't give me Garrett Wilson over. How many receivers right now in fantasy would you take over Nico Collins?
I would say probably just Chase and Jefferson. Like, honestly.
I'm going to ask you again.
I think Chase and Jefferson.
I just want to be clear. How many receivers right now, fantasy moving forward, are you taking over Nico Collins? And, oh, yeah, that Tank Dell's going to come in there and render Nico Collins useless. 12 for 150 and 1.
I think if you want Collins over Jefferson and Chase, be my guest, but he's got to be top 3. Like, he really does. I love Chase, and I think the sad thing is we know what Jamar Chase is. We know the ceiling he possesses, but man, I love Nico. And
well, you got neighbors.
It's the offense.
You probably forgot. I know you're thinking of the old guys.
I'm not forgetting, bro.
Jay,
I'm not forgetting.
No, sir. No, we're having a good. No.
Ray,
No.
You can take him if you want. You can take him if you want.
Jay, I'm getting you off the screen. You got to go.
Okay,
you got to
go for it.
There's no way. We're not doing this, Jay. You're gone.
But why? But why?
You're done, Jay.
Why are you betting? Why are you betting on a worse situation with no quarterback? Why? What's the point? He's just as good in the offense. His role maybe isn't quite as much because there's more players there. But why wouldn't you take C.J. Stroud and Bobby Slowick over Brian Daboll and Daniel Jones?
I'm taking Neighbors over Nico.
That's fine. You can do that.
15, 12 receptions, 115, leads the league in target share, leads the even with Daniel Jones, he's doing that. Even with Daniel Jones, and I'll just say he's a more physically gifted player than Nico Collins, who is very, very gifted, very, very physically gifted, very good. But yeah, point is, we're not gonna do this. We're not gonna do this today because I'm starting to get hot, starting to sweat right now. Jay, you got me
He's got more yards than Neighbors by over 100.
I understand that. I said in Dynasty. Patrick agrees with you. He said Nico over Neighbors isn't a terrible take. Same tier.
Nico's 25, man.
Yeah, okay. I'm not doing that. I'm Nico. I'm the number one Nico truther.
So I do have to ask you a question then, because this is where I think you're a little over your skis. Yes, what Neighbors is doing now is ridiculous, but we talked about it last Monday, or it was actually on Friday because of Thursday. How sustainable is it, and should we expect it? Right? I'm with you that he is absolutely in the top 4. Like, Neighbors is right there with Collins. But if you're making the bet, I just think that what you get out of Nico is very expected. You understand what you're going to get. You may have a couple lows here and there because of the team, but Neighbors could easily have another playmaker in that offense very easily in the coming years with a better quarterback, and maybe it kind of all evens out in the end. But I don't think Nico Collins' situation could get worse, because you're not going to have a lot of years where you have Stephon Diggs and Tank Dell, you know? That's my only point, is that, like, this is probably the most target competition he'll ever have in his career.
First
and he's
player in Texans history with 450-plus receiving yards in the first 4 games of the season. He's had at least 80 yards in each of his last 5 regular season games dating back to last year. Nico had 95 receiving yards when lined up against press coverage this season, 3rd most in the NFL. He's averaging 11 targets a game, close to 8 receptions, 123 yards on 37 routes per game. He's incredible. He's incredible. He's a top 5 wide receiver in the NFL. He's a player that, we talked about a lot last year just by tracking the usage and saying, screw the name. We don't care what the built-in KTC value is. We're rocking with the usage and the production, and that's why you got to trust the Trinity. Every player that we talked about, damn near every player that I talked about last week, Jay, on that wide receiver usage show, George Pickens, hell, even Amari Cooper to a degree until stuff got called back, all those guys were being utilized. George Pickens got it going this week, didn't score, but this is why you use that stuff. This is why there's so many different stats and metrics out there. Ultimately, all we really give a shit about is who's being used and how does that usage relate to fantasy points. Whether it's beaten press, whether it's beaten zone, whether it's beaten this, beaten whatever you want to beat off. I just want you to score fantasy points. End of the day, I want you to be utilized to score fantasy points. I don't care about one isolated thing. Score me fantasy points based on the usage. What's going on, Jay?
I'm not even...
Huh? What happened? The chat?
Keep going. We'll just keep going.
Okay. Going. I don't know. Did I say? You gotta let me know if I say something here. I see some people talking. Would you trade Nico for Chase? We had this conversation in our Discord. I don't want to get into the trade stuff. I do want to talk about the pass catchers from the Jags. Brian Thomas Jr. and Christian Kirk also played very well.
Love Brian Thomas, man.
Brian Thomas is awesome.
Brian Thomas. He's so
something
good.
Must have happened because the chat is it's reacting. It's catching up now.
You said anything you want to beat off, and I was like,
oh, come on, man. Come on, dude. I wasn't. I'm talking about him beating man coverage and beating zone, man. Tank Bigsby 7 for 90. Travis Etienne 11 for 50. Any concerns about Travis Etienne moving forward?
I believe he was dealing with a bit of a shoulder injury, but yeah, I'm definitely concerned because Tank Bigsby looks way better than he does every single week. This isn't the first time this happened. This happened in week 1, I believe, as well. And for a team that is sputtering, for a team that is playing very poorly, I thought they played a little bit better this week. But 0-4 now for the Jaguars, looking for answers. I believe Doug Peterson at the podium said, I can't get on the field and make the plays for the players, which is a big indictment on Trevor Lawrence, more importantly. 18 for 33, 169, 2 touchdowns. Did he fumble in this game? Of course he did. Now, they didn't lose the fumble, but he did fumble in the game.
Yeah, of course he did.
I think the bigger thing for me, Ray, is like, one, Christian Kirk got going, which was great, but Brian Thomas Jr. is the alpha in this offense. It's not Gabe Davis, Mr. 5 targets for -2 yards on 1 reception. It's Brian Thomas. It's why we keep talking about how you have to have him on your teams. You want to trade for him if you can have him, because the opportunity is there for him. And it's not so much that I dislike Trevor Lawrence or whatever the case may be with Trevor Lawrence. It's the way they use him. It's down the field, and he's making the plays that are relevant. And when you see him schemed up in the red zone for touchdowns, that's all you want for fantasy. So I think Brian Thomas is locked and loaded. I'd probably have him in my top 30 every single week because this team stinks.
At least top 36. He's a wide receiver 3. Yeah.
They suck.
Great.
They have to air it out. And Trevor Lawrence is probably going to throw the ball at least 30 times a game. He's thrown the ball 30 times every game but week 1. And he's probably going to continue because this team is awful.
T-Law, 169, 2 touchdowns, less than 60% completion percentage. Not a good day for Trevor Lawrence. He got the 2 touchdowns. They should have won this game.
Never been over 60 all season. Not a single game.
That's very bad. That's very bad. And Jamar Chase also can't get over 6 targets. Apparently, I just don't understand. I don't understand it. Why can't they throw the ball to Jamar Chase more? 3 for 85. Thank goodness he keeps scoring touchdowns for us. Thank you, Jamar Owens, for scoring us touchdowns, because for whatever reason, the Bengals don't want to target you. T. Higgins, 10 targets. Jamar Chase, 6 targets. Damn near the same amount of targets as Eric All. Chase is smashing. Chase is helping. Well, Chase is doing the most that he can with the least opportunity. What the hell, JRich? Why can't we just have nice things? Why can't Jamar Chase just I just want 8 targets, 9. I don't even need 15 like Nico. Can I get 10? Can we get 10 opportunities for Jamar Chase, JRich?
I mean, I wish, right? But those 10 targets go to T. Higgins instead. Now, to be fair to the Bengals, they actually ran the ball pretty effectively in this game. Chase Brown, 15 for 80 and 2. Zach Moss, 15 for 51. So, again, when you rush the ball 30 times with your running backs, which the Bengals have not been able to do this season, it does limit the passing game a little bit. I thought they could have thrown the ball a little bit more because they were throwing the ball fairly effectively. But a lot of those targets went to T. Higgins for whatever reason. Maybe it's coverage. Maybe it's the read. Maybe it's the play, how they're scheming up the plays. But even in the receiving game, 7 targets to the running backs as well. So you're talking about 20-plus opportunities for both running backs in this game. And it makes sense why the passing game struggled a little bit, but definitely some more targets should have went to Jamar Chase, and he did it himself on that 63-yard touchdown.
Other side of the ball, Andy Dalton continues to look way better than Bryce Young ever has. Deontay Johnson kept it going. And Xavier Legette. Can we get some love for Legette today? Let's go. Xavier Legette got in the end zone. 6 for 66 and 1. Again, talked about this on the Trinity show. This is one of those things where you're kind of looking and you're like, okay, now that Adam Thielen is out, who's going to step up and assume some of that usage that was left vacant? And after week 4, it didn't look like it was Big John Mingo. It looks like it was Xavier Legette, the rookie out of South Carolina. Chuba Hubbard still running well. This should be good for Jonathan Brooks whenever he returns. It seems like they're figuring it out up front. Jonathan Brooks gets in. Hopefully we get to see that rookie do some dope stuff when he's on the field. Jay, Bijan Robinson. Dud game this week for Bijan Robinson. We know how talented of a rusher he is. I don't know if it was the game script or what, but he did not get it done for us again this week. And we're still doing this weird thing where we are seeing splits between he and Tyler Algier. You know, it's just enough to be annoying. 8 carries for Algier, 7 for Bijan. They do get Bijan going in the receiving game where they do not really utilize Tyler Algier. 4 targets to 2 targets for Tyler Algier. What do you think about Bijan Robinson? There were some people last week saying that he was what did we call him in our Discord? It's sort of like the silent death position on your roster. Like you're going to keep starting him every single week because it's Bijan Robinson, but there are going to be more weeks than not where you're not getting the type of production that you feel you should get when we rank him as RB1 or 2. Like we keep doing this every single week. We're just like Bijan, RB1, RB2, and then you get to the game. And this wasn't a game script in which they could not run the ball. Kirk Cousins wasn't throwing the ball well, so they should have committed to the ground game versus the Saints team. They didn't do it. They won the game, which lets them know, hey, we can win the game playing like this. But what are your thoughts on Bijan moving forward?
It's definitely concerning. 11 opportunities to 10 for Algier is not the type of split that we signed up for when we're drafting Bijan Robinson at the top of the first round. This team isn't playing very well. They got the win mainly because of Rashid Shaheed's fumble into the end zone that they recovered for a touchdown. But, I mean, outside of that, Kirk Cousins wasn't very good. He got the ball to London. He got the ball to Mooney and McLeod. He didn't use Pitts at all. Surprise, surprise. Once again, Kyle Pitts bagels. But in terms of Bijan, I think it's just one of those weeks. We could look exactly to Breece Hall. Same situation. He was awful. Now, the game was outside and it was pouring. But, it's just one of those things that doesn't make a lot of sense. And you can't question it. You can't question Zach Robinson because they won the game. Should Bijan have more opportunities? Absolutely. Yes. We saw it in the Eagles game that they lost. They should have gotten him the ball more. And in this game, they didn't have to do it. They still won the game, so it is what it is. Even down the stretch before that Younghoe Koo field goal, they should have been throwing the ball short, and they're trying to throw it for touchdowns. And it just worked out that he made the kick anyways, but definitely some questionable play calling, in my opinion, from Atlanta. And part of that is not getting Bijan Robinson the ball enough.
Just wasting Bijan Robinson. That's what it feels like. I think the big takeaways from this one, the wide receiver distribution sort of shook out exactly like we were thinking and we talked about. It was a London week, 6 for 64. Mooney had 3 for 56, 6 targets to 12 targets. It's London, then it's Darnell Mooney still involved, and we'll probably see weeks where Mooney will have a week where he's above. Ray and McLeod back in the action again, 6 targets for him. These are gnats. This is what keeps Drake London from going nuclear. Even with the 12 targets, you got 6 going to Mooney, 7 going to McLeod, Bijan, Algier, and Kyle Pitts, big goose egg. Nothing from Kyle Pitts in this one. On the other side of the ball, it's the same that we've been talking about. There are two receivers that you want out of New Orleans because there's only two wide receivers that are being utilized, and you start both of them every week. You start Olave and you start Rashid Shaheed. They are the only pass-catching options that the Saints have outside of Alvin Kamara. So regardless of how they finish weekly, and I know Shaheed didn't do anything the week before, this is why you just trust it and say they're the only two being used. I'm going to play those guys no matter what. Taysom Hill vultured 2 damn touchdowns before leaving the game again. So there you go. Taysom Hill just screwing us all. Quick thoughts on Kyle Pitts, Jay, your favorite player in the NFL?
I mean, Ray, one day I'll go back and I'll find the tape of me saying that he would be outscored by Darnell Mooney this season. But yeah, this is just, unfortunately, this is how the Rams, even Kevin O'Connell's really the only disciple of Sean McVay, and I guess Matt LaFleur a bit as well, who really utilizes the tight end. And I don't know if it's an indictment on Kyle Pitts, but Ray, I think we have to say to this point, it just has to be. We can't continue to excuse the lack of production because when Pat Freiermuth is out here scoring touchdowns and playing well in an Arthur Smith offense and Kyle Pitts doesn't and didn't for years, to now he's this great.
JRich is frozen up. Are you back? Are you back? JRich is frozen up. We'll get him off the screen looking. Oh, now he's back. He's back. Go ahead. Finish up. Finish up your thought.
I was going to say, we have to ask the question as to whether Kyle Pitts is actually good. Because there's the one rookie season with Matt Ryan, but outside of that, it's been a lot of duds.
That was with Matt Ryan? That was with Matt Ryan?
I believe it was with Matt Ryan, yeah. Unless I'm wrong, but I believe that was Matt Ryan's last year. So that's where, like, for me, Ray, do you think we can ask that question as to whether or not he's actually good? Like, he's good, but is he actually great? Because he doesn't get any work in any offense. This is now, his third offense, I believe, because Arthur Smith came in after that first year with Matt Ryan. And so outside of that I think that's
he's good. I'm not going to say he's not good, but it's not working in this iteration of the offense, and I feel awful trying to start him every single week. I'd feel terrible trying to start him every single week. Let's finish up with the Bears. Caleb Williams, they got the dub. He got the Tyrese Halliburton Award for doing a little bit in this game, but it was all DeAndre Swift. DeAndre Swift was a monster in the receiving game as well, running the ball on the ground. He had over 90 on the ground, 72 through the air on 7 receptions for DeAndre Swift. Other side of the ball, a lot of people faded Kyren Williams. That too was foolish. Kyren Williams is still dominating and smashing in fantasy football. My final sort of takeaway from the weekend, and this is a somber one. This is a somber one because it's a player that we were very excited about, and we thought that with the quarterback returning this season that we were going to get elite wide receiver production from Garrett Wilson. But so far, it has not happened, and I don't feel confident that it's going to happen. The Jets lost to the Broncos at home, 10-9. Aaron Rodgers, 225, less than 60% completion percentage passing. He was not good on the day. Breece Hall was bottled up. We know the conditions were bad, and they were trying to get Braylon Allen in there. It feels like it's screwing up the flow of the running back, them trying to jam Braylon Allen out there with Breece Hall. Garrett Wilson, another 8 targets, but that's just exactly what Allen Lazard got. 40 yards, no touchdowns. What are we doing? What are we doing with the Jets? What are we doing with Aaron Rodgers? It's really Aaron Rodgers and his wide receivers. Breece Hall had a bad game, whatever. You're still going to start him. Mike Williams, Lazard, and damn Garrett Wilson and Tyler Conklin. I mean, how do you even discern who to play? Who do you want from this passing offense?
I mean, in the terms of Garrett Wilson, you probably start him, but you start him reluctantly. Because when he's only having a 20% target share, that's just not enough in this offense. We talked about, I believe it was on either the Wednesday show or on the Friday show, how there was a report that Mike Williams is going to be worked into this offense more. You already saw it this week with the 5 targets led the team in receiving. So when you talk about this team, I think it's great for Aaron Rodgers. He's got 4 pass catchers that he trusts, that he can get the ball to. But in terms of the players themselves, you look at Lazard, you say, okay, he could be a flex option. You look at Mike Williams, you say, okay, he could be a flex option. But Garrett Wilson's a player you drafted in the back of the first round, and he's playing like a flex option. So I think as long as you have any of those other players, you're okay. But yeah, you definitely got to be concerned about Garrett Wilson because his usage isn't where it needs to be right now.
Man, it is It's not. This is not. This red line back here underneath the threshold, 6'8", 6.63. This is not. Garrett Wilson should be up in this range. If you're talking about an elite wide receiver, a top 8 dynasty asset, he should be utilized up in here. Lazard's getting a little less, but he's scoring more points. Right? It's just the offense is not good. What this tells me is the efficiency of this offense overall is just not good for the Jets. You're going to start Garrett Wilson. You're going to start him, but I hope you're not starting him as your wide receiver one, as your top dog, is the one that you're dependent on and relying upon to bring home the week for you. Probably would not end well if you did that. Jay, we did not talk about Philly and Tampa Bay. We will save old Jalen Hurts for our Wednesday show. We'll talk about Jalen Hurts, Nick Sirianni, and those Philadelphia Eagles next week. Just know they had no Devontae Smith, no A.J. Brown, and it was no problem for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Baker Mayfield, Chris Godwin, and Mike Evans. It was no problem for them. But we will talk about Jalen Hurts and the Philadelphia Eagles on Wednesday. As I stated at the beginning of the show, I think it's already loaded up. Make sure you pull up and tap into the 2025 rookie conversation on the channel right now, talking about who's rising, who's falling, the big fallout from the weekend between Alabama and Georgia. Jay, I got to ask you, because I know you were very invested in that game. Go ahead and hit the music before we get out of here. What are your thoughts and feelings about Carson Beck today, JRich?
He ain't the one, my guy. He ain't a first rounder. I think he may be a second rounder.
Don't be too harsh on Carson Beck. Georgia wouldn't have been in that game if it wasn't for him. If it wasn't for Beck, they would have gotten their doors blown off real quick.
But they were getting their doors blown off because of Carson Beck in the first half. Right? Now, this is where I'll give Kirby Smart a lot of credit. When Carson Beck plays bad in the first half, the coaches get in the lab and they figure it out for the second half. And so I think that the problem for Carson Beck with me, he doesn't seem like he does it enough on his own. It's through the coaching and the schematics and the way that they help him out more than him doing it himself. When you watch Jalen Miro play, there's a lot of plays that he's doing it himself, right? And that's why he's going to be great for fantasy. But Carson Beck, I don't think we can say the same. And when you talk about a player who's going to end up being that Jared Goff type of comparison, scheme and fit really matters for a player like Carson Beck. So I do have concerns if he doesn't go to the right situation in the NFL. First rounder, but he has to go to the right situation.
Yeah. Like, I'm not really that much in on him. He's fine. But I do not believe he's the QB1, and I think we will see more mock drafters start to pivot off of him as the number 1 overall pick in 2025. 100%. We appreciate each and every eye, each and every view, each and every listen. JRich and I, we ask you to do one thing. Hit that thumbs up button, like, subscribe to the content, spread the word, tap into the stuff, join the community. Make sure y'all wake y'all asses up on Wednesday. We'll be back. Y'all have a good one. We out. Peace.